Hey, Angela Lutz, trademark and business law attorney here, going live as I do every weekday to talk about intellectual property matters. Now, the last video I did about Tiffany blue color as a trademark prompted some additional questions, so I want to cover those today. So Chris Lutz, this is for you. So let me share Chris's question here. Okay, so we were talking about color as a trademark, in particular Tiffany blue, and the fact that color can serve as a trademark, right? So he says, I thought there was more to it than that, like an element of potential confusion among the consumer of two businesses with similar products and services. So there's not that many colors in the spectrum and millions of businesses that have been started. So how is it that every color imaginable hasn't been registered yet? Well, that's a pretty good question, and I'm going to answer both of those. It's kind of a two-part question. Why hasn't everything been registered? And then kind of the factors that decide whether or not something is registrable, whether or not a color is registrable as a trademark. So I'm going to start with question two, the first. So the first question really was, why hasn't every color been registered as a trademark? Well, I guess it's because applications for colors just don't get submitted probably that often relative to other things. Most people don't think about color as a trademark. Most people think of words and phrases and logos as registered, as potential registered trademarks, but color, not so much. The other thing that is somewhat of an impediment to registering color as a trademark is the fact that you have to show that the color is distinctive. You can't just say, oh, well, we want to register red as a trademark for our, insert your goods and services here. You have to show that the trademark is distinctive, and that showing requires an investment in the brand, in the color, right? It requires that you have to show years and years of use, and also that the consumer in that area regards the color as a source identifier for your goods. So it's not enough to just say, well, hey, we think we would like to monopolize red for whatever, right? It's not like that. You have to show that in the mind of the consumer, there is an association, a very strong association between your goods and services and that color, such that when the consumer sees the color, they go, oh, well, it must be the goods from that source. Now, to use Tiffany again as an example, and you can go back and watch that video if you'd like to know more, people have a very, very strong association between the Tiffany Robin's Egg Blue and the Tiffany goods and services. So when you ask a consumer, if you hold up a Pantone 1837 paint chip and you say, what luxury brand do you associate this with? Just about everybody who buys luxury stuff, and that's our consumer, right? They would say, oh, well, that's Tiffany. Right? Because they're not just claiming blue, they're claiming a very particular blue, which goes into the second part of the question, which is there more to it than an element of potential confusion among the consumer of two businesses offering similar products and services? Well, sometimes yes, okay? Let's talk about famous marks are different. Famous marks get a lot more protection than non-famous marks. Why? Because the courts recognize that there is an investment, a huge investment by that brand, by that source of associating that color with their goods and services. And so courts tend to respect that a little bit more. The other part of it is that famous brands tend to expand their goods and services into areas that they might not have traditionally been known to be associated with. For example, we all know that Tiffany produces jewelry, right? But how many people also know that Tiffany produces other luxury goods like handbags, writing instruments, some other leather goods, watches. What else do they make? Oh, they just expanded into restaurant services. So famous brands tend to expand their world of offerings, and that's why, especially when the color mark is very specific, right? So Tiffany just didn't say we want blue for the whole world of jewelry. They said we want Pantone 1837, which was specifically formulated for us by Pantone, and this is our color, and we want to associate this color, this very specific robin's egg blue color, with our goods and services, whatever they may be. Now, if Tiffany wanted to offer lawnmowers, maybe we would have an argument that, you know, things have gone a little bit too far. But famous brands get a lot more leeway than non-famous brands, so that's a factor as well. So courts will, when you have a conflict like this, courts will look at a number of factors and they will weigh the reasonable expectations of the consumer and the expectations of the brand owner and the expectations of the competitors, right? And they will come up with a fair solution, at least, you know, fair to them, that balances all of the interests. So that's why it's a good idea when you're applying to register a trademark, you get professional advice from a knowledgeable and competent trademark attorney who can help you kind of navigate all of this. I'm Angela Langlotz, and I go live every weekday to discuss intellectual property matters. You can find me online at TrademarkDoctor.net. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/TrademarkDoctor. If you like my Trademark Doctor Facebook page, you'll be notified each and every time I go live, which is every weekday, kind of whenever I feel like it. I'm here. And so go ahead and like the page. You'll be notified every time I go live, and I'll see you tomorrow.